Strong Group. My name is Kathy Robertson. I'm with Community Futures Cowichan, and our Cowichan Strong Group has come together to support the business community in a lot of different ways as we navigate COVID. So our webinar today, in an effort to provide as much valuable information we can to our business community, is from our friends at Innovation Island, and they'll be specifically speaking on the DER3 program, which is all about working with businesses who want to pivot and take advantage of technology to advance and sustain their businesses. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Graham, who's the executive director there. And he's also joined by his colleague, Jennifer, who's the general manager at Innovation Island. So, oh, there we got the wave. Thank you, Jennifer. And Graham, cheers. We know you got a cup of coffee going on. Yay. So, Graham, I believe you're going first. So,
Sure.
over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy, and everyone who's taken the time to log in here. We're going to go through just a fairly standard little presentation deck, and then the hope is that we can get some more specific Q&A happening with respect to your own individual business situations, or if you're representing an organizational group of any sort, obviously adjust your questions accordingly. So with that, just give me a moment. I'm going to share the screen and we can get right into it. All right, Jennifer, is that showing well? Just thumbs up there? All right, okay. It looks like there's still a couple of people coming in, so I'll go just a tad slow on this first slider here. Okay. All right, so first of all, Innovation Island, we've been around for about 20 years. We started in the region as something called MISTIC, Mid-Island Science and Technology, under the provincial initiative supporting science and technology organizations throughout the province. We report to and have been supported by for many, many years Innovate BC, and we're a delivery partner of something called the Venture Acceleration Program. Some of you know that is a startup acceleration program for folks inventing things, developing new technologies, commercializing innovative solutions within our local economies, but also within broader economies, in many cases internationally. A lot of this work ties to core economic development, certainly entrepreneurship, a ton of networking, creativity, and as I think we all know and love, we have just an amazing lifestyle here on the island. So that's a quick recap on our branding. We really like to drive three themes, helping people build and grow and stay here. In tech, often companies get pulled away by bigger opportunities or markets or financing, but what we're trying to build stuff here and keep it here best we can. We have a very large region. I like to call it the ROI, which is rest of Island. That's everything but Victoria. It's the South Island, Victoria, Greater Victoria region. That's under our partner Viatech. We cover everything else, including the Sunshine Coast, Northern and Southern Gulf Islands. So it's a lot of municipalities, big geography, but it's based on population maps. And that region has about 400,000 people, as I think most of you would know. Today, we're going to lead this with myself. I'm the executive director, and EIR stands for Executive in Residence. That's working directly with the client companies. And Jennifer Hufnagel is our general manager. Over the past few years especially, we've really doubled down on getting some numbers on the board and really pushing a lot of our companies and helping a lot of our companies realize some market-based performance. And we're most proud of the fact that we now have over 180 new tech-based jobs that have developed from these startup companies. They've generated over $23 million of new revenues. And they've also secured over $20 million of early stage technology investment. Now, these are investment dollars going specific to these companies via angel investors, strategic investors. Sometimes that's referred to as venture capital. But these numbers have been really exciting for us to kind of start tracking and getting on the board. When this crisis hit, our friends at Island Coast Economic Trust, ICE-T, Lynn Robert specifically, came to us and said, "Look, what are you guys thinking about for dealing with this crisis or helping out?" We had been working on a few things, but in very short order, we put together this new program that we're referring to as DER3. It's designed to be a rapid response recovery program. We're all working as fast as we can, and I think we all know that there's programs upon programs, but we're trying to parse out real actionable things for a lot of businesses that are facing challenges within this crisis. We want to reflect on a couple of things that tie to the idea of a digital economy, which I'm going to get on in a second here. But there's a lot of companies now trying to do what a lot of their competitor companies have done over the course of years or decades. That's not necessarily easy, but it is easier to go online now than ever before in larger markets than ever before. So we're really here to help people make that happen, and it really sets the table for the need to get really creative. So that's just some branding that we're doing in a variety of different mediums and campaigns. We first used to call this the internet economy, just anything going online, but that's now changed to a broader definition of the digital economy, utilizing digital products or services in many different creative ways, and not necessarily limited to just being online. But getting online in itself is really not enough anymore. We have to be wiser, and we have to consider the power of digital platforms that are absolutely core to a lot of businesses, but not so much to some other businesses that have been perhaps a bit more physical and traditional. When it comes to the real focus of this program, we're talking about helping businesses or encouraging businesses to enter or expand into this digital economy, to understand what platform services can do, see how they fit with their businesses. That gives us, an onboarding process where we GST get stuff done, and we try to get stuff done as fast as possible. It also gives us this ability to work with professional service providers that are throughout our region. We know and love and have worked with a lot of these companies over years, and we can now bring this together to businesses in a transition phase. Businesses are considering hybrid business models, and we can talk about that a bit more later. We also have within this region, I think everyone here knows, a great number of subject matter experts. And these are folks that come from industry. Some might be retired, some might be on different assignments, but these are folks that really have deep experience and know how to get stuff done as well. We touched on the service area. We've been really fortunate to assemble a very experienced team with a lot of domain expertise in a couple of key categories here. First of all, we have two frontline program managers that are dealing with small, medium-sized businesses that are coming into the program, which we'll talk about, and aspects of digital services that's covered with our program managers. And we've more recently added two business advisors that have really great experience in broader aspects of business and how business is changing within digital domains, as well as traditional sectors. The program in itself is quite ambitiously targeting and trying to address challenges of all sizes, small, medium, extra large. And that's leading to some substantial changes in consumer behaviors that are certainly happening on the front end and through these transition periods here. But they're probably going to be longer standing over the course of time. We all know that we're going through phases. We're really arguably in this transition period, and that's going to lead to a recovery period, which this is overused, but this new normal will be what it will be, and there's a great deal of evidence that talks about how we're going to have these hybrid business models in more of our physical and traditional businesses. What we aim to do with this program and are doing is taking an evidence-based approach. We want to add value and utilize the data that supports recommendations with businesses. We really work to help businesses do the right things at the right time in the right order. We're finding that a lot of the dialogue early on is actually saving people money so that they're perhaps not doing certain things. That was a bit of a surprise, and we'll probably have more surprises there as things go. And as we're stating here, sometimes we do kind of have a need to get into some harder conversations with respect to the position of a business and what their strategies might be or be required. Those are tougher conversations from time to time. We aim to be solutions based. We're not necessarily here to teach. We have a ton of resources, but again, there's resources everywhere right now. We want to be very specific on what's needed and when it's needed. Now, moving a little closer to home here, we in this region, we love our restaurants and food services. We got a lot of just amazing businesses in those spaces here. Those businesses are facing significant changes within their service model. That's starting to come back, and we're very excited by that. We also know that a lot of these businesses are tourism dependent. They're seasonal. That's a little tougher right now. That's a little further out. We're well aware that there's a great loss of margin in many of these businesses. And so really, again, we're looking at how platforms or services can fit, doing the right thing at the right time. And that has become very important for all sorts of people. This is just a really quick capture of some quotes from businesses, from people that are out to kind of address some of these challenges here. The diversity of companies is interesting. Some of the things and challenges that they're facing are starting to kind of create some common themes here, and these are just a few tidbits on things like what galleries are going and how international travel is going to affect some of those things that I referred to as tourism dependent. We can capture some of this a little bit more in the Q&A perhaps. Now, what we're just showing here really briefly is just a screen capture of our landing page. The link just is there at the bottom. The whole idea here is to make a very simple onboarding process. So if you're a small, medium-sized business that needs help, you click that button. If you're a digital service provider, we have many service providers in the region, that really can get stuff done. Then we're creating this index to understand their areas of expertise and specialty. And the same goes for subject matter experts. All of these lists, all of these resources are building quite rapidly, and it's driving towards this back to business initiative for folks wanting to expand opportunities in the digital economy. Now, I'm going to just take a breather here and shift this over to our general manager, Jennifer, and she can just kind of go through the client journey.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham, very much. And hi to everybody. So as Graham mentioned, it's really easy. You pop onto the website, you click on which box fits you, and then you fill out a form. So I'm going to walk you through the client journey, or the small, medium business, or the SMB journey. So the client comes in, let's call her Sally. She clicks on the link, fills out a form. She'll get an automated message that says, please book with one of our program managers. Then an intake meeting happens, and it's at the convenience of that client. The intake meeting is about 30 minutes. It's on the phone, or it could be Zoom. It's up to the client. And then what happens is a needs analysis is done. So a more deeper dive on the needs of the business. Just because they've said one thing in the form, we're asking those deeper questions. And then then we come in as a team, and we go through and we look at the clients to say, what can be done immediately? Are there some immediate actionable steps that can be done? We're finding some of our clients don't even have customer lists, as an example. So it's a little hard to get online if you don't have a customer list to market to later. So we're also doing what's called social media audits. We're providing that service as well, as where our program managers go through and just have a quick general look at what's happening with you online right now, from online to Facebook, or using YouTube, etc., and giving some quick recommendations on that. And then in some cases, depending on the needs, whether it's small, medium, large, or extra large, as Graham said, sometimes it's a quick, here are some digital service providers. That's what the DSP stands for. Or here's a subject matter expert, because you specifically need something that's very specific, and that's what the SME stands for. Sometimes it's as quick as that. Again, depending on your needs, there may be some back and forth with the client, and then that may be escalated to a business advisor, where there's even more of a deeper dive, depending on what the client asks for. Not all clients necessarily graduate to a business advisor. And then that's an even deeper dive to say, let's parse this out. You want help on social, but you also need a website. But then there's some business strategy going on as well. And then again, if and when required, there are referrals to digital service providers and subject matter experts. So I should mention that this part of the process, this is a free program, the business analysis portion of it, the immediate action plan, and the social media audit, If you are then matched with a digital service provider or subject matter experts, and that's a contractual service with those groups. What's also really great is that the digital service providers that come into the program have the same process. You go through the same, you apply online, there's an intake meeting. We discuss not your needs, but your services. We document that so that we know that our clients are getting the best group of digital service providers to match with if and when they need to. And same with the subject matter experts as well. So that's a little bit of the client journey.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks.
Yeah, so just we're almost wrapped up here with these slides, and then we can get into Q&A here. So as we're referring to, the idea is to engage with any kind of business that wants to consider these sorts of things, or is in the middle of doing that, or just wants to expand on what they've done perhaps historically. The other thing that I think is for me is a fairly self-evident statement, but entrepreneurs are going to fill any void. They always do, and so we're seeing a lot of creativity in some cases with new businesses coming and starting, serving needs that are now quite unique based on this crisis. That's kind of a double-edged sword, because before this crisis hit within the tech space, there was this theme of disruption. Robots are coming, everything's getting disrupted. Well, reality is that's still happening, and that's probably going to happen even more now. And so as consumer behaviors change and businesses figure out different ways to deliver on that, there are new opportunities there. And sometimes those new opportunities do not get filled by the incumbents. They get filled by folks just coming out of the woodwork. So that's good, but maybe not so good if you're a traditional business that hasn't made some adjustments. So this, get damn creative tagline here, hashtag is what we're really kind of encouraging. And we want the businesses that are here, that employ folks to really look at what opportunities they have to make some changes and to consider some of this stuff. there's a lot of businesses that just don't need to really go online, in a big way, and others that actually might do quite well by doing that. So those are broader topics. But that concludes the slides that we wanted to show, and I'll be really happy to get into some Q&A with you as with Jennifer.
Back over to you, Kathy.
Can you see me playing with my mute button?
Yeah.
So I think this was covered briefly, but let's go ahead and just cover it off. It is asking about some examples of the mentors, and that's my assumption in the question is maybe a description of who they are, and then maybe secondary what they bring to the process. So when you say what mentor, what can a client expect? Yeah,
so we actually don't use that word mentor particularly, or especially in this program. It exists, and so what we refer to as subject matter experts. So subject matter experts are individuals with very specific high-level skills, and those skills could be, in engineering, they could be in deeper aspects of technology, or they could be in business. They could be in agriculture. What we have is actually, it's about a database of 60 individuals that have really, we're talking kind of, PhD type level folks, or folks with 20, 30, 40 years experience within their domain. Those folks are a part of our database resource. And so everything is driven by the needs of a business. So if a business has a really challenging and quite specific need, then we can match subject matter experts with those needs. Now, within the program itself, our managers, they're the folks that help to shape those needs and help to bring those needs out. So that's kind of how that works. We're not offering a mentorship program here per se. This is about the needs of businesses and solving specific problems that they have right now.
Excellent.
Graham, can you just share a little bit about the client for cyber that we were working with the SME?
Yeah. So again, we can't say specific names of individuals or companies here, but there was a 30-40 year company that had quite a difficult situation in losing control of their domain, their web hosting. It wasn't a hack per se, but there was a loss there, and that immediately triggered some really difficult conversations and the need to get to some really high level cybersecurity folks who are here in our region to start problem solving and try to unwind that situation. We're in the middle of that right now, and we're certainly hopeful that we can help that business, but stuff like that can happen, and we need to bring in the really savvy people, and that's what this program is designed to do when it's required.
So great, both Graham and Jennifer, a lot of the folks on the call today have connections to some version of a business development or support organization. Yeah. And so what do we take away from this call today that we can then go into our memberships and stakeholders and promote the value of the DR3 program, and who should we be? So if you were a solopreneur, like a one-off person, and you wanted to become more digital, is that a place for them to be? Or maybe you're a large employer already who's got some plans in the pipe, who are looking to adopt technology in advance. So how do those scenarios fit with what you're trying to attract?
Yeah, so thanks for that, Kathy. And just to your reference there, yeah, so there's, and we've done this throughout the region. There are a lot of organizational relationships and supports and entities that are in the business of doing all sorts of things like this. What we're doing with this program is really tied to kind of one of our main descriptors. This is for people that want to enter or expand in the digital economy. So if it's an individual, just like you said, who's come up with a new idea and wants to consider what they might need to do to go and expand or start within the digital economy, that qualifies. If it's a more traditional physical business that has been rooted primarily outside of the internet per se, but they want to expand there, then that fits. So it's all about entering or expanding in the digital economy. Oh, you're can't hear you there.
I'm mute. Here we go.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. You'd think I'd be good at this by now. So we have a question coming in from Mark, who's part of the Ladysmith Chamber, and I think he identifies something that's really important for this call.
Excellent.
And it's the use of language. So Mark's asking, you know, how might we explain to someone the difference between getting a digital tool and going online? So how should the terminology be considered or understood? What's the difference? And then throw in e-commerce. There's also, you know,
so super good. So tech loves acronyms and buzzwords and memes and whatnot, and we try to parse that down now. Now Jennifer's put together a social media package, a media kit, and that media kit has done a great job of defining some specific terms and language for marketing purposes or just general descriptive purposes. So we'll make that available to you, Kathy, and anyone who wants it. But to the heart of the question, there are substantial differences between choosing a platform service that does XYZ versus just tackling something as broad as e-commerce versus going from a static web page that's just a glorified brochure into a dynamic web page that actually has a shopping cart or offers commerce. We have about a 20-step plan that describes this internally with clients. We understand that there's great levels of kind of digital literacy with respect to businesses, and we want to understand where they're at. And here's the thing, that's where we start. Like, we start with respect to where they're at. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. And this is also key to what we said in the slide here. It's also really easy, if you don't know this stuff, to do things out of order or to do the wrong things in some cases. We've had several businesses that have been told they got to do this or that by who knows where, and that's typically or classically wrong. And we're not just saying it's wrong, it's an industry standard wrong. And so we base everything on where somebody's at as a starting point with respect to their objectives in entering or expanding.
And I think just to add to that, from an online perspective, that could be a website, but a digital tool could be using MailChimp as an example, or using a CRM for the first time, or sourcing a CRM. So I think that might help from the different, or you may have a Facebook page. I would consider that going online as what online means.
Okay. If I could add to that, Kathy, because this is what we love about all this stuff, is we get these relevant questions here. So I think everyone on the call could associate to the fact that many businesses in our entire region have very specific and somewhat localized trade areas. They're not trading internationally per se, right? There's some are, and there's some are trading nationally, but we want to look at their trade areas. We want to understand what those objectives are. So am I a traditional business that's been reduced in operation that sells just regionally, and that's my trade area? Well, if that's the case, then that business doesn't need to take certain steps as if they were going to sell internationally, because maybe that isn't a viable thing for them. And so that's an example of doing the right things at the right time in the right order. On the flip side, there are some businesses that are realizing that by going digital, by embracing digital platforms and services, they actually could expand their trade area because they might have a unique offering. and they've never really committed to doing that. And so now it's efficient to do that because they got to do it locally anyways. And so if you're going to do it locally and you've got the opportunity to sell in a broader trade area, then there's some efficiency in that, you know, investment of time and energy or dollars.
Thanks, Gray. And that's a great way of looking at it, and hopefully it'll be inspiring to some businesses. So just our next kind of question, it's just going to take us back to the beginning. I was mentioning it before that some of our guests on the call today are from chambers or DBIAs. So how do we sell that to our members? Like, how do we, like, what's the value proposition? Like, so Sonia from the Duncan Cowichan Chamber, she says, do I call this a matchmaking process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe help us break it down so we can promote this to the folks that are in our networks.
Yeah, so two things there, and I'll let Jennifer weigh in on this too. So first of all, we absolutely will get you this social kit, the media kit, so that you could look at what might fit. Then the second thing is like, you know, and Jennifer could give her opinion on this from day to day here, but I don't like to consider that we're selling anything to anybody. I like to consider that we're addressing the needs that are presenting from business owners and operators, and addressing those needs, you know, and helping them realize either you know, a decent recovery or even a greater potential by making these commitments. Now, back to the other part of this is communicating the value proposition. Well, the value proposition is essentially adding other income potential or other growth you know, potential for your business by developing a bit of a, you know, hybrid approach to your customer base, to your market. You know, so the language is important. We're constantly making little tweaks on it, and Jennifer, you know, if you want to add to that, you can here.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm happy to resend the email if it's been lost in the email vortex, as well with the social media kit. But a couple of key points is that this is a free service. This is a free service to businesses only, and if they are paired with and I use the word paired because I don't want to use, we're not just a matchmaking program. You know, fill out an application, have a 30-minute call, and then you're off to the races. Here are a few digital service providers. In some cases, that's all the business is looking for, to say, can you please let me know who the expert is in this? So we send them out the door that way, but it's not a matchmaking service. We're more of a needs analysis, support. We're the place to go if you're not quite sure where to go, or you think you're doing well online, but you want to take it to the next level. So I certainly think, in addition to the value prop that Graham shared, it is a free program unless you're contracted with a digital service provider and they give you a quote and you proceed and you go from there. We also work with other programs I should mention as well. So there's Rebound Oceanside, which isn't pertinent to the Cowichan Valley, but then there are other community future programs as well that are also, as you know, Kathy, requesting that they have come into the DER3 program to get a bit of an analysis done. So hopefully that's a bit more clear.
The tourism program.
Oh, pardon me. And thank you, Graham. And then the tourism program. So a Cowichan business who is a tourism operator starts in the the tourism resiliency program. And then if those needs are identified, that it's to get digital or be more digital, then they come into the DER3 program and we're working together. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit.
One of the things I take away from your explanation, it's helping people create awareness that going digital, I got to get on Facebook. People need to be going shopping. I got to make sales online. Easy things to say, but only done well if you've had a thought out strategy, and because due to the technicality of it, you should be working with an expert. And so that's what I really hear you saying is I think probably a lot of businesses, just because of our environment, have figured out I got to go online. It's fairly obvious to a lot of folks. And what your program could be preventing from doing is saying, don't go it alone. We've got a bench of people who can help you do it. High risk to go it alone. You could be overpaying, underpaying, working with the wrong expert, or running with the wrong strategy. And so we want to help you do it right because there is potential or tremendous opportunity to grow and expand your business, or simply save your business. New revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Graham, before, I know you have a comment, but the saving part is really important, Kathy. We've seen two independent clients. One client was quoted $150,000 to get their website online and to get all of their artists online. Another client was quoted from a digital service provider. Neither of those two are in our program, from the digital service provider, $15,000 for 1 month or 2 months of social media management. So this is, in addition to saving from going down the path of saving money, and just doing the right things at the right time with the right people. So having that advice, I think, is super important.
Yeah,
Graham?
so those are some painful situations, and we're trying to reduce pain here, and we're not out to call anybody out specifically, but this is also tied exactly to what you said, Kathy. It's like if businesses haven't done much within this space and they feel that they need to, well, they're coming in with not a lot of relationships per se, not a lot of experience, per se, and we're gonna kind of speed things up so that they are doing the right things in the right order. Now, circumstantially here, much of our economy is just coming out of a shutdown, so a lot of folks that have been just working from home, well, they're buying digital services and products from folks that have figured out how to offer that. If anyone's seen some of my other presentations, I started warning people about the power of Amazon years and years ago, and Amazon started off quite nice and soft and saying, oh, we're only going to ship core PPE type stuff. Well, that didn't last too long, because now they're shipping everything, and so we got businesses now that are competing in spaces that they've never competed in. We've got changing consumer behaviors that are substantial and really, really substantial. And so we want to give the local businesses a leg up, to employing best practices, to doing some very basic things that don't cost a lot of money. We've integrated the social media audits across the board, because we have almost 300 applicants working through our system right now. The numbers are pretty big right now, and guess what? Nobody's aced even the social media audit. So there's a lot of work to be done that's in some cases quite basic, and then we want to build on that. And we certainly don't want to have folks paying, exorbitant fees for stuff that they can do themselves, or they can engage with other solutions to do it cost effectively.
The other thing I'm hearing you say as you share further, Graham, you and Jennifer, is that there's information, and then there's always the value add piece to information, and that's the analytical part and the insights part. And I would imagine your experts take information and then make it make sense to their clients, and take other insights that they have in the space they're in, or the environment and the sector they're in. And I think I imagine for a lot of folks entering your program, they're really getting their eyes wide and going, I had no idea this piece of information, this data point, or this headline plays out this way and would have such an impact on my business.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's, hard to put in a brochure.
Yeah.
We have to work on that, but it is the heart of what we're talking about here. It's like, and I have a slide for that where we talked about the fact that a lot of physical and traditional businesses in our communities have not really had to go online in a big way. They haven't been forced to do that. And we're not saying we're forcing them to do it now, but they just haven't done that. But guess what? There is an online competitor to every product under the sun that's been doing this for 20 years. So it's not a fair fight, right? But we're trying to level the playing field a little bit here, and then be very specific about things like trade areas, right? So our favorite restaurant that's opened up with half the tables and gets, you know, maybe half the customer and buys half the food and whatnot. Well, their trade area is pretty darn local, right? And so they only need to do a few specific things to maybe augment or add to their local trade area success. They're not going to compete online with a global brand, you know, or a chain restaurant per se, who's offering up a bunch of other value-added services. So it's all about specific needs from very specific companies.
So I'm going to jump in there, Graham, and just change. So
Of course.
right now, currently we were running with the analogy that we're in a fight, but I'm going to move us to the analogy that we're in a foot race. And so right now we're in a sprint, but the last couple questions from some participants are inquiring about the longevity of the program. And so is there any discussion, like, is it going to go on more than a year? Because if it proves to be value added, how does the program grow and continue to serve the future needs? And I know this is heavily funding based, and I'm putting you on the spot, but as Barry says from the EDC, is this program, you know, how's it going to work long term to help businesses be resilient to future shocks and just the general transition to a more dominant digital society and less focused just on the short term solutions?
Great question. So technically right now, we're going to run this program to the end of the calendar year, technically. We, as I'm sure anyone on this call could imagine, are getting a lot of uptake. We're getting a lot of data. We're having client stories, success stories in the works. We do feel that that's pretty powerful. We've been told that this is one of the most unique programs in the province, if not the country. We're getting support from both federal, provincial entities of all sorts, which we can't all talk about right now. And we feel that there are some unique opportunities for this service to grow and expand beyond just the end of this calendar year. And you're completely right that the needs are there. This crisis has accelerated both needs and opportunities for advancing and diversifying business activity. Obviously, using the digital domain, you know, I'm hard pressed to think that any business is going to think the opposite. Oh, I should get offline, or I should use less technology. You know, so the needs to these businesses are significant, and to a foot race or you know, the competitive landscape. You know, in many respects, you know, we're competing against the rest of the world in a lot of cases. You know, I've been a huge advocate for, you know, getting better at buying local, shopping local, aspects of circular economy, you know, local procurement. We want these things to be enforced with the power of enabling technologies. There's almost no other way to do that.
Excellent. Thanks, Graham. Just checking in on our questions right now.
Yep.
And I know that Barry had a question as well, and I think Sonia had one as well.
You bet. So jumping to Sonia's question, can you give us an example of a business, what their journey's been like just from first contact, how the process looked, you know, and how the program supported them?
Gee, okay, there's lots. Anything come to mind, Jennifer? I'll keep.
Well, we're still in the intake and analysis process, so we don't have a full end-to-end because these things take time. Every business is at a different stage at the moment. Some are building their customer lists, as an example. Some are getting quotes from the 3 digital service providers so that they're, you know, coming back to us with the quotes if they need to, and having a discussion.
Let me just add to that.
Sure,
Jennifer,
and then we go ahead.
No, I'm just going to actually refer to one that we dealt with in-house. So basically, as we assess the data, their circumstances, you know, we had, and again, I can't name names here, it was a physical training organization. So all of their work was done in the physical world. And we helped them to rapidly digitize both content and you know, student, sign-ons and onboarding, and then content delivery. And so they went from 100% physical training to 100% virtual digital training. And that's actually happened. They now know that when social distancing restrictions change, they will have a hybrid business model. They're currently realizing that they may have a bigger business opportunity on the online side of it than they ever did in the physical side of it.
Mhm.
Now, online training has been around for ever since the internet started, but there's dozens of training companies that haven't done that. So I'm speaking to this one because actually Jennifer played a huge role in that because she has a background in that space. But that's a success story that is really closer to an A to Z that I could refer to.
And they're absolutely, thanks, Graham. That was what I was going to share as well. And we're still in the final stages of what's next, but absolutely. And we're starting to see some themes as well come through. Getting online from, I want to put my courses online. I want to use Zoom for yoga from artists online. So there's that teaching and training component. We're seeing quite a few other themes from artists and makers of, I can't go to craft fairs anymore, or I have to get a bit more creative. How can I actually get my products online? So, but yeah, thanks, Graham, for sharing that. That's really exciting. And we will have some success stories that we will share out and to be used as case studies going forward. But the program is, what I was saying, is still relatively new. These things don't just, you can't just get online overnight, as we know.
Yeah. So a question from myself, how is your programming managing the expectations of clients? When things are scary and they've lost control and they're looking for a solution to generate some paychecks for themselves and maybe some employees. What's the sense of urgency in your clients in the pipeline that this could be a bit of a longer game than they expect? How are you managing those expectations and they still feel like they're getting good service?
Yeah. So thanks for that. That references one of the bullet points there that we had where we talk about some of the harder conversations. Managing expectations, explaining, possibilities and whatnot is certainly a big part of what we're doing one-to-one. We don't want any business coming in thinking this is a magic wand or a silver bullet. It's not. It's a process. It's a commitment. It's going to take some requirements. But a lot of businesses have some hard choices to make there. Do I do this sort of thing? Do I just stay parked? Do I just gingerly get back to normal? The unique profile of any given business answers those questions. Some businesses, were able to create a bit of a war chest, or they're financially speaking, they can weather this. A lot of businesses have been able to weather this. There's a lot of businesses that can't, and unfortunately, we know in all of our communities, there's going to be, and there already is, numbers of businesses that are going to close. So we take that quite seriously and personally, and it's all based on the one-to-one work.
And I think I'll also add to that is many of the businesses coming through need funding, and they need money now. So the more that we know, because this program doesn't provide funding, but so the more that cities, provincial, federally are coming to the table with funds to help, that is super, super great. So we keep up to date on any funding options for our clients as well. And so like Community Futures and your digital program and your microloan program, that's really great. And the Rebound Oceanside, there's some match funding there. So we don't provide funding, and some clients come to us and they need it. And to be honest with you, some of the clients have been, they've been crying on the intake calls, and that's really sad. And we try and be as empathetic as possible and not be overwhelming. And sometimes it's really overwhelming getting online. You just don't know where to go, and you don't know what to do. So initially we thought that we would do this. We would say, hey, go and look at your social and look at these points. as an example. We started implementing the social media audit really quickly because we found that that was even overwhelming. So we'll give you recommendations versus saying, go and make sure your Facebook handle matches your Insta handle, matches your XYZ. So I think that we really work with and break it down into bite-sized chunks. So that was kind of too, we don't do funding. Let us know if you have funding. We'll match you with funding, or we'll show you where the funding is, and the baby steps.
The other thing with this, and I know time is going here, but and I say this just kind of poignantly, but if you as a business aren't considering doing these things or wrapping your head around it, then guess what? Somebody else is gonna.
Yeah.
Right, and somebody else is already doing that somewhere else, right? So it's free world. People make these choices, but the landscape has changed. The chessboard's been moved around, and this, we're just trying to help.
And
sobering comment, Graham, and it's a hard-hitting one, but I think it's the question we got to ask. Someone will eat your lunch. Yeah. Sorry, Jennifer.
I was going to say, and we know that this program isn't for everyone as well. You might not need to get digital or go online, and that's okay. We're not here to push this program on anyone. But I say on the flip side, if you'd like a little bit of analysis on your business, if you are thinking about going digital or you need a little bit of help, then come have a conversation. Fill out a form, have a conversation, and see where you can go. Barry, I saw that you had a question, Melissa. Did you get your question answered?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah, except for the part about businesses who haven't already engaged with the digital economy
Mm-hmm.
and who are just trying it out now, maybe aren't having huge success with it straight away, but as a tool for resiliency going forward, it might be of more benefit for people. So I think people need to start thinking about their long game, and I think this program can be a big fit for that.
And we do, Barry. We have small and medium businesses that have come in to say, I'm online already. Am I doing the best that I can? Can you have a look to see where else I can go? Can you audit my online presence in its entirety in my business? So from I don't even have a website to, I think I'm doing pretty well. Can I do better?
So as we come up on a full hour here, I'm just going to check back in with Sonia and possibly Mark from local chambers. From what I understand, the uptake for your program in Cowichan has not been as strong in other parts of the island. So maybe there's something we can do to help get needy business connected with you folks. So my questions to everybody on the call: did we think we got what we needed? That we can try and encourage businesses to consider this, and knowing that Jennifer is going to resend the email with all of the supportive promotional tools. I know I got it from you about 2 weeks ago, and it made a big difference for getting my head around it. So anybody left in the next 5 or 6 minutes, feel free to just turn off your mic and jump right in. If that's an outcome of this call, that we can, through our networks, get more folks plugged into DR3, that's a real success. So what else do we need to do that well? Anybody have any questions?
Barry.
I'll jump in and just say that, I did receive that information. Oh, I thought it was a month ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. And I've seen it certainly online with the tourism resilience program, kind of the two programs. And, we, like everyone else, are dealing with, 300 emails a day. And so I have to admit that I haven't given it a full review. So I hope I am like Kathy. When I review it, it's going to have a little bit more clarity. But I really appreciate, and I'm going to call it dumbing it down. We need to be able to explain, to the Cowichan businesses how they can take advantage of this free service. And I use the terminology matchmaking, because that's what I akin it to, but I'll certainly use some other language after, discussing it with you guys. And I really appreciate just that one business example of the company or the business with the physical training going online. We had a new member actually that she rejoined our chamber because she left, and she really liked the stuff that we've been doing again over the last few months, keeping her abreast of all the resources and funding and everything. So she said, you know what, I like what you're doing, I'm coming back on board. And she actually took her program, which was an exercise yoga. I'll use yoga as an example of one of her tracks. And she's been doing it online. And, she's actually thinking of continuing, to build her base online. And of course, the question to that is, how do I continue to collect money, from these patrons? So that's her biggest challenge is, can I still collect money from these people in a virtual training session?
Yeah. How do you monetize it?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sonia.
Yeah.
Great feedback.
Yeah.
Anything else?
From my side, I think if we want to get more folks engaged in this program in Cowichan, then we need to take on the branding of it, because there's so much noise out there with everything. People don't know how to engage, then maybe we need to take on the branding of that ourselves to go to make it Cowichan specific and make it relevant. I had some kind of side comments with Jennifer around, possible taglines to get people engaged, and Jennifer is saying, well, we haven't really had to kind of pull people into the program because those who are really interested are already joining. But if we see the value in it as a community, then maybe we start pushing people your way rather than you pulling them. And like I came up with kind of some taglines of like, going online, don't get it half right, don't get overcharged, so people can start to make sense of it, or see where you're at, get expert advice, and know how to get there, kind of try to draw people in and make it. And maybe that's like a partnership between Cowichan Strong and you folks getting this program going, and that kind of ties in the local community to the program as well, where we can kind of really express that value. So those were kind of some of my initial thoughts around that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barry. Those are great comments, and I just like to make a couple other statements here that I think ties to this. Is like, we are all in our respective towns and communities customers and consumers. We know the businesses that are struggling in some cases quite a lot, and we know the businesses that are probably doing just fine, right? And so when we talk about the push and the pull here, and I've set this as a mandate for our team. If you know a business that could benefit from entering or expanding in the digital economy, call them up, talk to them, and say, "Geez, are you thinking about this stuff?" Like, get really targeted and specific. Now here's the thing. It's like, I love restaurants. I travel around this wonderful region, and I go to lots of restaurants, and it's now at zero, right? So I'm hoping to get back to that, but when I talk to the restaurants that I know and love, I'm saying, geez, guys, like, what are you doing there? And some of them made changes early on, but we can all, as consumers, loving, our retailers and providers, get really targeted to those folks that we think make sense for considering these things.
I've done just that today to send your program to someone specifically, said, here's a funding source, and talk to Graham and Jennifer with this program, and they will give you the right advice on the right way to approach it.
One of my favorite bike shops, I like, bike shops, picked up a platform solution, digitized their entire inventory in a week, and have been selling online as they move to opening again. And that was a packaged solution that was extremely effective, cost effective and time effective, and has been brilliant. I've bought more stuff through their online store locally than I have in the last 2 years.
That wasn't through our program, but just as an
Oh, no,
example of
it was
businesses.
through me because I'm a customer.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
I just said, screw that, just go do that. Okay,
Yeah.
right? And that's the whole idea here is we just want people to get this stuff done. We don't really care how they get it done. We just want them to get it done.
Yeah. And I'm happy to talk to any businesses that you have in your region for a quick chat to give them a broader understanding of what the program is, and then they can go online or simply fill out the form, go online and have a chat with our program managers. So open to either.
Okay. So we're coming up on, so big takeaways for me is just the clarifying, and I'm really being able to get much more specific and understanding. Definitely hearing through your storytelling, great success happening already, and high potential for success for folks to learn from your experts the right things in the right order. Some great sound bites that we can maybe pull out of this recording. Thanks to my coworker Carrie, she chimed in and reminded me that we can do that, an opportunity. And then the other big piece is how those of us who are dev business development people in our roles, maybe we can put a little bit more joint effort behind this and start getting it out to the to our region in a stronger way, and then pick up the phone. Just use our personal relationships with that and remind folks this is available to them.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I just, before we wrap up, there are just a couple of other comments. So Renee, I will connect with you, absolutely. And we are looking at doing some little snippets and videos. We're not at the point yet to have testimonials. That'll probably be a little while yet, but we certainly recognize the value of testimonials, case studies, sharing stories, and video as well. So I will resend to those on the call from Chambers, ECDEVs, BIAs, the updated social media sharing kit, but we will be adding to that. We will have some more announcements coming as well. So look for that, but we're always looking to update it. So.
Yeah, and you know what, just before we sign off, coming in from the chamber, anybody who's had a successful experience in the DR3 program that can be turned into like a 45-second soundbite, good promotional tools on our end. So an idea for consideration.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, Kathy, and everybody.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
That was really enlightening. I'm glad we got together, and we've got some work to do. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Have a great day, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.